Hey everybody, how are you? Like this shirt? This is actually Matthew's shirt. I like it. Not today, Satan. Yeah, that's what I have to say to the old devil that tries to get you down and trip you up. Not today, Satan. All right, so we are on chapter 7. Speak to be understood. Remember, it was this little picture of the guy with the gal chit-chatting, talking, speaking, doing what they do. All right, I'm going to read this chapter. We're going to have a little discussion, hopefully, if anybody decides to come in and actually talk. And regardless, I am probably going to do some exercises today. And I'm going to clean out some storage places. So I don't know what that means. I haven't watched Clutterbug's video yet to find out what that means. But that's going to be my next neatening adventure today. Alrighty then. So speak to be understood. So far, we've discussed blending and listening as methods for increasing trust, cooperation, and understanding. Yet, what we say to people can also produce positive effects. The signals, symbols, and suggestions that constitute our communication output provide a profound opportunity to influence relationships for the better. The following keys should help you in this regard. One thing that drives me crazy about books is some of them are so technical, like these words they use are like way over people's heads, even my head somewhat. They could just simply say the way you talk causes a reaction in people and it makes or breaks your relationship. They don't have to use this communication output, constitute, provide a profound opportunity to influence relationships. I mean, talk down to earth. Everybody is not a college scholar. And shoot, it's been years since I've been in college, so these words are like way too lofty for me, even. Anyhow, monitor your tone of voice. Your tone of voice sends people either a positive or negative message about your opinion of them as human beings. At the tone, many people think it's time to take something personally, even if it has nothing to do with them at all. Have you ever had a really rotten day at the office and then you got a call from home? Have you ever had a rotten day at home and then you got a call from the office? Even when your words are well chosen, if your tone of voice is hurried, defensive, or hostile, people may imagine something very different from what you had intended. That also goes with text messages as well, and emails and phone calls and all that other stuff. Mixed messages caused by voice tones. Hi, Wheezy. Thanks for being here. Mixed messages caused by voice tones that don't match spoken words can cause big problems in relationships of all kinds. When receiving a mixed message, people will respond to the tone and ignore the words. The irony is that people often try to suppress their emotions to avoid conflict. Their words give voice to the direction they would like things to move, but their emotions leak out through tone of voice. The receiver ignores the words and responds to the tone, and then the sender feels misunderstood and conflict ensues. If you ever hear yourself giving someone a mixed message, call attention to it and explain what your voice tone is saying. Sorry if I sound a bit rushed. That's because I am. Or, I know I sound angry, but that's because this issue is so important to me. When you acknowledge your tone and clarify what it is saying, you decrease the likelihood that the other person will take offense. I know Matthew and I do that a lot, where I'll just get all enthused about something and I'll be really loud and talking very quickly. He'll be like, honey, calm down. Why are you yelling at me? And I'll say, I'm not yelling, honey. I'm just passionate. He'll be like, yeah, you're yelling. It doesn't work with him too much. He's too literal and I'm too literal. So we clash a lot when we try to reason away why we're doing things or explain them. The other person isn't buying it. We're just like, yeah, okay. Sure, you're passionate. I'll remember that next time I get passionate about something and I'm screaming in your face, That's just kind of how it goes with married couples, I guess, or people that are super close. You just kind of learn each other's communication method and kind of roll your eyes at the person when you really should probably be giving them more of a positive feedback than you do. Okay, state your positive intent. If effective communication can be likened to the correct dialing of a phone number, then intent is equivalent of the area code. It works best up front. When you assume that someone understands your positive intent, or you imply your intent rather than state it clearly, misunderstanding can result. Maybe that is what the saying, the road to hell is paved with good intentions, is trying to warn us about. To prevent such misunderstandings, learn to begin communication with your positive intent. Tim and Rosie were seeing a marriage and family counselor on a regular basis, hoping to bring more happiness into their relationship. It was the end of a successful session, and Rosie turned to Tim and said, "Honey, let's go to the rose gardens." But Tim didn't seem at all interested and said, "Nah." Rosie seemed very disappointed in his answer. The counselor asked her what her intent was in bringing the rose gardens up in the first place. She said, "Well, we seem to be feeling closer than we have in a long time, and we have an hour before we have to pick up the kids. I just thought it would be nice to have some quiet time together." Suddenly, Tim brightened and said, "That's a great idea, but I don't want to be outside. It's too hot and buggy. I know a great little cafe that just opened up down the road from here. Would that work?" And Rosie said, "Oh, Tim, that's a great idea." So Matthew and I are going to be going to some marriage seminars coming up. Well, a marriage seminar coming up, put on through our church. And hoping to borrow a car from my daughter to do that. So maybe we will learn a little bit more about communication at this seminar. Hopefully it doesn't turn out like that United Marriage Encounter thing we went to. Well, we didn't. Actually, my ex-husband and I did. My second ex. And that was a disaster and a nightmare and very cultic. I don't think this is going to be turning out that way, especially since it's very word of faith. Notice that going to the rose gardens was not really important to Rosie. Rather, spending time together was what really mattered to her, and that was her real intent. Out of an infinite number of possibilities, going to the rose gardens was only one way to fulfill her intent. If you're at all typical, you probably don't tell people your intent when speaking to them. And the irony is that it's probably the most important part of your communication. After all, that's the purpose you're trying to achieve. The trick to communicating intent first is to ask yourself before you speak, what is my real purpose in saying what I'm about to say? What result am I aiming for? Suppose that you're angry with a loved one and you have the intent to clear the air so that life together can be fun again. If you begin to talk about how upset you are, you run the risk of your loved one feeling attacked and reacting accordingly. Once you react to this reaction and your loved one reacts to your reaction, the conversation could turn into a declaration of war. Instead, you might begin by saying, "I care about you and hate to waste time being upset around you. I would like to clear the air so we can enjoy our time together." Now your loved one knows where you're coming from. In such a receptive environment, communication is far more likely to occur. Now, as I've said earlier today, this does not work with narcissists. This does not work with people with personality disorders, passive-aggressive people, people that like to manipulate. This is not going to work with them. I guarantee you it won't work with them. Because as soon as you start expressing your intention, they're going to shoot it down immediately. They're going to tell you, "No, that's not what we're doing. We're doing this because I know you like to do that." And you're sitting there thinking, "No, that's actually what you like to do. I want to do this." But they're not going to hear you because they're narcissistic and all they care about is the bottom line of what they want. So, yeah, it's not going to work. But neurotypical and non-disordered people, these things will usually work for. Have you ever been in a conversation in which someone's telling you something and you find yourself wondering, why is he or she telling me this? Telling people why you're telling them something before you actually tell them is a simple method for directing attention where you want it to go. If you give people a good reason to listen to you by stating your positive intent, you will communicate more clearly and have less conflict. We knew a secretary named Doris who had an overly sensitive boss who was mismanaging her time. After keeping a time log to determine if the problem was real or imagined, Doris found she was spending 2 hours each week making and delivering coffee and an hour and a half each week turning the sprinklers on and off. Meanwhile, her boss would get mad at her for not getting enough done, even though he was the one giving her the other tasks. The first time Doris tried to communicate to him about this, she said, "Sir, I think you have to take a look at how you're mismanaging my time. You keep giving me low priority work and it's keeping me from getting my work done." To which he replied, "Oh, I am I? Well, listen, and listen well, because I don't intend to repeat myself. If you find it so difficult to work here, perhaps you ought to start looking for more meaningful employment. Now get out of my office, stop wasting my time, and get back to work. Undaunted, Doris studied communication and mastered the art of redirection. And a few weeks later, excuse me, sir, I know you're busy. I'll only take a minute. Blending. She acknowledges the fact that he's busy and the importance of time. I want to be the most productive secretary that you've ever had. She's now stating her intent. She states the intent of the time log. To accomplish this goal, I've kept a log of how my time gets spent. The reason I'm here is to show you this log so that you can help me improve my productivity. Intent behind this meeting. He decided it was important enough to look at it immediately. He was stunned when he saw how her time was being spent. He apologized to her, and together they worked out the details of a new relationship that made better use of her abilities and freed her from mundane, time-wasting activities. Speaking your intent first lets people know where you are coming from and prevents many misunderstandings. True. I can see where that would work. By the way, everybody, if you're watching this, especially if you're watching it later and you haven't already, please feel free to join my channel by subscribing to it, like and share, and hit the little bell so you don't miss future uploads. Because sometimes alerts don't go out and people don't see that I'm on. So you might want to be alerted a little bit easier by hitting the bell. And when you hit the bell, hit the upper part of it so that you make sure you get all of the uploads. All right. You may find it challenging to believe that the words tactful and interruption can coexist in the same sentence when talking about difficult people. That's because most intentional interruptions are rude aggressions aimed at overwhelming the voice of another. Yet there are occasions when it is necessary to interrupt a difficult person. If someone is yelling at you or dominating a meeting and not letting anyone else get a word in edgewise, or complaining in endless cycles of increasing negativity, an interruption may be an elegant solution. A tactful interruption is made without anger, without blame, and without fear. Just say the difficult person's name over and over and over again, in a matter-of-fact sort of way, until you get his or her attention. Mr. Jackson, excuse me, Mr. Jackson. If you don't know the person's name, use the gender. Sir, pardon me, sir. Sir. If you attempt to interrupt aggressive people, they may try to override you by raising the volume of their voice. In such a case, you must persist anyway. These repetitions of name and gender create an irresistible force that so distracts the tanks, know-it-alls, grenades, or whiners that they must stop talking to find out what it is you want. Once you have their attention, you can move forward by stating your intent, by clarifying something they were saying, or by using any of the other choices suggested in this chapter. That kind of reminds me of like when I had little kids and they'd come up, Mom. I'd be like, what? You finally look down and you're like, what do you want? And you might not be angry, you just might be annoyed, kind of irritated, like you're interrupting whatever I'm doing or whatever I'm talking about. But it definitely gets your attention. So I can see why that would be tactful or tactless, did they say? Tactful interruption. Yeah. Because it works. Okay, tell your truth. Honesty can be effective no matter what difficult behavior people engage in. If you tell your truth in a way that builds them up rather than tearing them down. The more trust you have with people, the more likely it is you'll be hurt. So you may want to spend a few weeks or even months building up the trust level with blending behaviors before you attempt open and honest conversations with your difficult people. And remember to tell the people why you're telling them your truth before you actually tell them your truth. State your positive intent and why you think it's in their interest to know. Here are other important keys to open and honest discussions. So, use the I language. I'm sure those of you that have gone to therapy or have gone to seminars, motivational speaking things, whatever, listen to Tony Robbins, you've heard about the I statement. So here we go. Use I language. From my point of view and the way I see it, are softening phrases that take the fight out of your words. They tell your difficult people that what you're expressing is your truth rather than claiming to be the truth. This makes listening to you more comfortable and less oppressive. Now, I have a real problem with this, I admit, because as far as I am concerned, my beliefs are the truth. The truth. Not my truth, not someone else's truth, but the truth. So that doesn't work for me. If I'm going to talk to you about the Bible or my beliefs, I'm probably not going to say, from my point of view and the way I see it, that's probably not going to happen. I'm going to say the Word of God says, or God says, or says in the Bible. I'm a very matter of fact, to the point, succinct person when it comes to my beliefs. There is no leeway. There is, well, maybe this is what it meant. Maybe you're reading that wrong. No, that's not how I believe. I believe that what I believe is truth. Period. End of statement. And as I've said in the past, if people decide they want to debate me on it, or they flat out don't agree, then we don't have anything to talk about on that conversation. That's just how it is. So yeah, I'm very stubborn, dig my heels in. This is the way it is. It's not my way or the highway, it's God's way or the highway. And hopefully you take his way, because it's the narrow road, not the highway. And few there be that find it. Be specific about the problem behavior. Talk about the problem behaviors rather than about the problem people. Generalizations like every time we're at a meeting, you always exaggerate will not help. Give specific examples instead. Show them how their behavior is self-defeating. To create self-motivation for change, you have to show them how something important to them is lost because of their behavior. Suggest new behaviors or options. Make some specific suggestions as to what they can do differently in those situations and what the likely results will be. Perhaps the biggest obstacle to being honest with people is concern about hurting their feelings. But you do not do them a favor by withholding information and allowing them to continue behaviors that don't work for them either. Reinforce behavioral change. When people make the effort to change their behavior, it is critical that you catch them in the act of doing it right. When you see or hear them act in desired or desirable ways, immediately or as soon as possible, acknowledge and appreciate them. Building on success is one of the best ways to bring out the best in people. Now, I can tell you, back when I was with Becky, I tried this a lot, where I would say, oh, wow, I really like the way you did that, or that's amazing. Oh, my gosh, can you teach me how to cook like that? Or, wow, that was some really good insight into what we were talking about. And it would just be like, haha, thanks, girly. And then just kind of fall on deaf ears from that point on. It wasn't really received well, but that was because she was a narcissist. So it really didn't matter to her what I thought of what she was saying or reading or teaching or whatever, or doing. So somebody that's not a narcissist, though, then yeah, you can say, hey, I think that's brilliant how you did that. Or I really love your vision board. It's fascinating. Or I love the way you did your channel today, engaging everybody. It was really fun. Or, that kind of thing. You can do that and it'll be received. For example, a counselor who told us his story. So now they're going to give you his story. Or her story. Excuse me. In my first year of practice, I had a patient named Joe, whose problem was that at age 23, he had never been on a date. He was desperate. Joe seemed like a decent guy, lanky in frame, about 5'10", and not bad looking, although unkempt in his appearance. I asked him if this was a confidence issue. He said no, he had no problem talking to women or walking up to a stranger to ask her out. When asked to demonstrate, he seemed overly aggressive, awkward, inexperienced, and anxious. The way he dressed also left a lot of room for improvement. The thought crossed my mind to be blunt with him about what he could change in his behavior and appearance. But not wanting to hurt his feelings, I used his first visit just to gather information. He made another appointment. At the next visit, I again procrastinated being blunt with him, and instead I worked with him on his self-esteem. It soon became apparent that his self-esteem was fine, and I knew that the help he needed required me to give him honest feedback about his appearance and courting behavior. On his third visit to my office, I said, Joe, I really want to help you with your problem, my intent, and I would like to be honest with you. I am just not sure how to tell you this. He said, well, just tell me. I said, okay, let's go stand in front of this mirror. Hello, NJ. How's it going? As we looked at him in the mirror, I pointed to his head and said, Your hair needs to be cut to fit your bone structure, but the way your hair is cut or not cut, everything is leaning to the left, I said. Regarding your clothes, different colors work or don't work for different people, depending on complexion. The colors you seem to consistently choose make you look like you have a chronic liver disease. I also bet you dress for comfort, he agreed. Well, I continued, as I pointed first to the pattern in his shirt, then the pattern in his pants, I think they need to be a bit less complicated and a bit more stylish. And one last thing about clothing. I believe there are two kinds of pants for men, long and short. You need to make a decision because ankle length just doesn't work. Being specific about the problem. Let me give you Teresa's number, suggest new options. Call her. She'll cut your hair to fit the shape of your face. She'll tell you what colors work best for you. And if you want, you can hire her to take you shopping. She'll help you find clothes that are comfortable and in style. Now, regarding the way you approach women, and I continue to be specific about what probably didn't work and what might work better. Finally, the visit was over. I had no idea how useful this visit had been for him until it was time to pay. I was charging $40 at the time. He handed me a $100 bill. And as I started to look for change, he said, "Keep the change. Thank you." Oh, and he called me 2 weeks later with the good news. He got a date. Well, that's good for him. Be ready to listen is the next part. We're almost done with this chapter. Yay, because I'm getting a little sleepy in my eyes. I'll probably take a nap in a little bit. Be ready to listen. Whenever you speak to be understood, your communications will inevitably have an influence on your problem people. If they become defensive, be willing to temporarily drop what you're saying and totally focus on their reaction to it. Do your best to fully understand by backtracking, clarifying, summarizing, and confirming. While this may seem like a long process, it will probably take less time and produce less wear and tear on your thoughts and emotions than an action-reaction type of conversation that produces no worthwhile outcome at all. Remember, you get what you reward in relationships. When people make an effort to change, acknowledgement of their progress is a reward to them. People turn to appreciation like leaves turn to the sun. So when you see or hear people engaging in different behaviors, make sure you acknowledge them for it. And if they fall back into the old behaviors over time, take the time to offer a gentle reminder of who they are and what they're capable of based on the better behavior you have observed. Honesty is almost always the best policy. We're often amazed at how many strategies people employ to deal with each other without first attempting to talk it out. We highly recommend engaging in an honest dialogue with problem people as one of the most effective strategies for bringing out the best in people at their worst. Oh, I am reading the same book I've been reading, not Joan. It's a series of videos dealing with people you can't stand. So here's our quick summary. When you communicate with problem people, your goal is to speak to be understood. Number 1, monitor your tone of voice. Number 2, state your positive intent. Number 3, tactfully interrupt interruptions. 4, tell your truth. And 5, be ready to listen. So there you go. There is chapter 7. The next chapter will be Get What You Project and Expect. Stand by for that eventually. Chapter 8. So what did y'all get out of this? What is your takeaway, input, comments, whatever? And hey, NJ, question for you. Hold on a minute. I got to see who this is. Hopefully nobody important. Hello? Okay, I don't need that. You can lose my number, lose my name, blah, blah, blah. See ya. Okay. Okay, I don't know what you're talking about. You don't have to name names, but I'm sure home wreckers are not fun people to be around or dealing with. That's true. So, not Joan, what is your positive intent on all your videos that you make? Tell me, what do you hope to accomplish? What is your goal? What's your end game there, Joan of Arc? That's what we're talking about, having positive intent. Do you hope to produce a positive outcome with your videos? Do tell. We are all waiting for the answer with rapt attention. Ain't nobody like the Homewrecker. It be a book title. No. Actually, my book title is Dealing with People You Can't Stand. How to Bring Out the Best in People at Their Worst. That's the book title, actually. So, not sure what that means. Really never sure what anything means on here half the time. So do answer my question, Joan. You don't like it when I don't answer yours. My question was, what positive intent do you have in making your videos, your little clip videos that you make about people? Where's your positive intent? What do you hope to accomplish? Do you have any positive intent? Or do you just like harassing people? I just like to know, personally. Just asking. You sure do have a lot of time on your hands to do that kind of thing. So I figure you must have some kind of outcome you're going for, right? Do tell me. Very interested to know. Nothing, huh? Okay, well, nobody is wanting to chat. That's all right. So I will be on my merry way. I need to get a nap, and then I'm going to wake up and actually clean some. I need to do another organization project today. Need to clean out some containers. Okay, gotcha. All right. So why do you call her two tooth? She has more than 2 teeth. What is that about, not Joan? I don't understand. As far as anybody wrecking anybody's home, I'm not aware of that happening, so I'm going to just delete that comment. Because I don't think anybody's wrecking anyone's home at all. I think you're assuming a lot. All right. Anyways, I guess I will leave you to do whatever it is that you come on here and do. That's about all I wanted to talk about. You're welcome, Weezy. You guys have a great... Okay. Well, I lost some teeth too. Am I like 4 tooth? 5 tooth? 10 tooth, maybe? Toothless? The toothless fairy? I don't know. It's just kind of silly, not Joan. Seriously. All right. Anyhow, you have a great day. Happy, whatever it is that you do. Not Joan. Happy smearing. Happy debasing. Happy defiling. Whatever it is that you do. Do it to the best of your ability, I guess. If this is how you want to spend your life, go for it, I suppose. All right. Have a great day and be blessed, everybody. And I'll see you soon on the next live stream about dealing with people you cannot stand. So everybody have a good night, and I will see you soon. Be blessed. Shalom, shalom.